In Ukraine, one weapon has revolutionized the battlefield: the drone. It's cheap, accurate, and widely available. Many are now resistant to jamming. In southern Ukraine, authorities are applying a simple means to try to stop them. Look carefully at the image. This is a city in Ukraine called Orekov, just a few kilometers from Russian positions. Before the war, 14,000 people lived here. Today, only a few hundred remain. Walking down the main street, carrying groceries, returning home, living their ordinary life. But look up at what covers the entire street. Nets, hundreds of meters of nets, stretched from building to building, covering every street, every intersection, every entrance. The Ukrainian soldiers who installed these nets call this the tunnel of life. But from whom are these people defending themselves? The answer? In the sky, drones, dozens, hundreds of them flying low, searching for targets, people, cars, everything that moves. And these nets, many of which were donated by fishermen from France, Sweden, the Netherlands, are practically invisible to drone cameras. A Russian drone flies in this direction at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour, carrying 5 kilograms of explosives. It doesn't see the net until it's too late. The propellers spin, the drone falls, the person below survives. But this isn't the only solution Ukraine has found, because nets work here in cities. But soldiers in trenches and soldiers in open terrain cannot carry 100 meters of nets with them. They needed something portable, working at the last moment, and they created it. What you're about to learn will surprise you. To understand why Ukraine needed to develop these two solutions, you need to understand the big problem they faced. It was 2022. February 24th, Russia invaded Ukraine. Using its force, Russia invades Ukraine by land, air, and sea, as well as through several border crossings, including neighboring Belarus. The first wave of attacks consisted of cruise missiles, artillery, and aerial bombardments. Dozens of military facilities were destroyed. There are casualties among civilians. At the beginning, no one expected that drones would dominate this war. There were military and reconnaissance drones, large, expensive, complex. But first-person view drones changed everything. They're small, fit in a backpack, cost cheap, from $500 to $1,000 to assemble. Some are even cheaper, and they're deadly. They deliver with first-person view from 3 to 5 kilograms of explosives. It flies at speeds over 100 kilometers per hour, faster than a car on the road. The operator controls the drone with special goggles, seeing exactly what the drone sees. It's like a video game, only the target is real, and people die. In mid-2023, Russia was carrying out up to 500 drone attacks per day. Ukraine tried everything. Jamming interfered with the drone's signal to make it fall. But the Russians adapted. They started using fiber optic cables, physical cables connecting the drone to the operator. They're as thin as hair, stretching for tens of kilometers across the battlefield, and it's impossible to interfere with a physical cable. Anti-aircraft missiles against air targets don't work and aren't economically viable. Each missile costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of them cost over $500,000. You can't use a $500,000 missile against a $1,000 drone. The math proves it. Ukraine would fall within weeks. Soldiers needed something different, simple, effective, and cheap. And then two solutions emerged. One to protect cities, another to protect soldiers. And both solutions used the same basic idea: Nets. Yes, nets. Let's start with cities. Spring 2024. A small fishing village in Brittany on the western coast of France. A fisherman named Gerard Ludev has a problem. In his region, 800 tons of old fishing nets are produced annually. 800 tons. Nobody needs them. Recycling companies have closed. Nets are accumulating. And then he gets a call. It's from Ukraine. They need nets. Lots of nets. Not for fishing, but for protection, defense. Gerard is determined. If they need our nets to save lives, let them take them. I thank the people who make air defense systems and ordinary people, but with extraordinary vision and warmth, who support us so much, both you and the fishermen. Your help is truly important. Industry. These aren't ordinary nets. These are horsehair nets designed for catching monkfish at great depths, built to withstand powerful fish. Fish that weigh tens of kilograms and fight with incredible force. Fish that strike with the same force as drone impacts. These nets are packed, loaded into trucks, and begin a 2,300-kilometer journey through France, through Germany, through Poland, to the Ukrainian border. Destination: Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, Kostiantynivka, and Orekov, constantly subjected to drone attacks. And it's not just France that joined the game. Sweden also sent nets, Denmark, and the Netherlands. Also, hundreds of tons of old fishing gear, equipment that was about to be thrown away. Now, it's crossing Europe to save lives. In Sweden, an organization coordinated the donation. Co-founder Ludwig Kramstein gives a story explaining why this works. Donated mosquito nets were installed on a car. The nets were installed about a meter above the car on metal rods, forming a shield. Just a few days later, the car was attacked by a Russian first-person view drone. The drone hit the nets, exploded, but the force of the explosion was significantly reduced. The people inside the car survived. Without the nets, they would have died. In Orekov, Ukrainian soldiers work in temperatures above 30 degrees Celsius, stretching these nets over entire streets, between buildings, over market squares, hospital entrances. This is hard physical work, dangerous, because while they're installing the nets, they themselves remain under threat from drones.
Ні, він над стовбами, хлопці, він на нас летить. Косово, зйомка велась. Ось. Гараж, зайшли в гараж.
It doesn't work perfectly, but it significantly reduces the number of successful attacks. The Ukrainian army calls these protected zones anti-copter corridors. And according to military sources, the number of successful enemy attacks on routes protected by nets is significantly reduced. This doesn't eliminate the risk completely, but it reduces it. And in a drone war, where you have to face hundreds of attacks a day, reducing risk means saving lives. But nets over cities solve only part of the problem, because soldiers in trenches don't have buildings to stretch nets. Soldiers in open terrain cannot carry 100 meters of fishing net on themselves. They need to move. They need to fight. And when a first-person view drone appears out of nowhere, diving at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour, they have seconds, not minutes. Seconds. They needed something different, something that one person can carry, something that works in the last fraction of a second. That's when Patashka appeared. April 2024. A company called Patashka Drone is registered in Kyiv, Ukraine. Patashka in Ukrainian means little bird. Founder Rostislav Petrakov. And his idea is simple, almost obvious when you think about it. If nets work in cities, why not create a weapon that shoots nets? The concept sounds simple, And it really is simple. But simple doesn't mean easy to make. This is how Tashka works. It looks like a plastic gun. You insert a cartridge into the barrel, inside which is a net measuring 3.5 by 3.5 meters, about the size of a small room. It's folded, compressed, and ready to use. You notice an approaching drone, raise the weapon, aim, and shoot. Compressed air launches the cartridge. The net rapidly unfolds in the air to full size. If you shot in time, you aimed correctly. The net captures the drone, the blades get tangled, stop spinning. The drone loses lift and falls. The range is approximately 25 to 30 meters. Think of it this way: the distance between your house and your neighbor's house across the street. It's not much, but for a first-person view drone diving straight at you, 30 meters is the difference between life and death. And here's the key: cost. Each net cartridge costs about $36. Let's look at it another way. A portable electronic warfare system costs over $50,000. An anti-aircraft missile costs over $500,000, and a Pythagoras net cartridge costs $36. The complete weapon setup costs from $190 to $470 depending on configuration. The kit includes 6 training and 2 combat cartridges, reusable. Reloading takes 20 to 30 seconds. Under Ukrainian law, it's not considered a firearm, permitted to be carried by any person. In March 2025, the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine officially approved Tashka for military use. Soldiers began calling it the weapon of last chance. But will it work in real combat under pressure, when a Russian drone is diving at you at 100 kilometers per hour? The answer came on the first day of September 2025, somewhere on the Eastern Front. The footage you're about to see is real. This is not a test, not a demonstration. This is combat. A Ukrainian soldier is in a defensive position. You see him in the recording, and then you hear this sound. This electronic hum is unmistakable. A Russian first-person view drone is rapidly approaching. The soldier doesn't panic. He's prepared for this. But training is never the same as reality. It never reaches real danger. His movements are deliberate, confident. And here, the drone is approaching. It's possibly already 50 meters away, then 40. The buzzing gets louder and louder. The soldier tracks the movement, follows the trajectory. He has a chance. If he misses, the drone hits him. 5 kilograms of explosives. At this distance, it's lethal. He pulls the trigger, the net shoots out. A 3.5-meter net flies toward the drone. The blades instantly get tangled. It falls to the ground a few meters from the soldier and explodes. But the soldier is alive, standing unharmed. Kanalka Systems published this video with a simple caption: decisive, brave, and cool-headed. But the story of Tashka doesn't end there. Ukrainians found another application. An application that shows how brutal and simultaneously inventive this war is. The Russians developed a tactic they call loitering drones, ambush drones. It works like this. A first-person view drone lands near a road that Ukrainians use. The operator turns off the motors. The drone stays there, silent, invisible, waiting sometimes for hours. When a Ukrainian vehicle passes, the operator turns on the drone, which takes off and attacks. It's lethal, effective, and difficult to detect. But Tashka Company developed a counter-tactic. They use their drones and Ukrainian drones with net cartridges. These drones fly over roads, over points where Russian drones usually set up ambushes. And when they detect an ambush drone on the ground, they drop a net. The net falls like a parachute, covering the Russian drone, tangling in the propellers before the drone even tries to take off. Today, if you visited Orakov, you would see something that looks like a scene from a science fiction film. Life goes on, people walk the streets, shops are open, some children have returned, but above all, everything is tense. Hundreds of meters of nets are stretched between buildings. Nets that arrived from fishing villages of France, from the islands of Sweden, from the ports of Denmark and the Netherlands. Nets that were garbage, which fishermen didn't know what to do with, which were about to be thrown away or burned. Now they're literally shields. On the front lines, Ukrainian soldiers carry tashkas in their tactical vests next to ammunition, next to grenades, next to first aid kits. This is what war looks like in 2025, which proves a universal truth. Sometimes the simple solution is the best. Innovation isn't always creating something new, but sometimes an unusual application of something already existing that nobody thought of. And now I want to hear from you. What surprised you most about this story? Leave your opinion in the comments. Share it with someone who also needs to see this, and subscribe to the channel to get more content about the military world.